Okay, hello everybody. I hope you hear me loud and clear. Let me go to the presentation and start. My name is Bartek. I'm the chief designer at Jutsu Games. I was directly responsible for the implementation of 911 Operator and then the design of 112 Operator and Rustler. For the last 2 years, I am also a chief producer at Games Operators Publishing, and there I work closely with the developers of Radio Commander, Transport Incorporated, and 10 more pre-productions. Some might also connect me with Playway, as I also worked with them, and I'm still the co-creator of the project creation rules there. So I'm still in touch. This is roughly our portfolio. Let me just check if I'm recording. Yes, I am recording, and let me check again if all the audios are correct and fine and loud and clear. Sound is good. Good. Nice to hear that. So let me carry on. The first thing about the trailer creation and the issue behind it is is your game worth making? And this is what we are going to concentrate on today. First of all, is your game interesting? And can you make an attractive game, like you personally or as a game developer? And then will you earn money? Like, is your investment profitable and ours as a publisher as well? Those are the questions, the problems that we need to solve as soon as possible. And can you answer the questions? Well, the sooner the better. And most often that's once your game goes public, and that's far too late. We want to know if our investment is going to be profitable far earlier. And sometimes you can do that when investors or publishers throw money at you, even at the pitch or prototype level, but this doesn't happen too often. So there is a way to find ourselves somewhere in the middle, and this is what we are going to talk about today. So the solution here, the simplest solution that we came out recently with quite a few projects, is to pre-produce and check the audience as soon as possible. And how we can do that? This is one of my favorite charts that shows how the players learn about your game once it's released. So like half a year later after the game is released, we asked the people how did they learn about the game. And apparently the first place is Steam, actually the Steam landing page, the Steam homepage that shows the banners of all the other games, featured or not featured. Then there is YouTube, and by this I mainly mean YouTubers playing the game, like the biggest YouTubers. Then there is Facebook, and actually mainly Facebook ads that show your game. Then the media, and I mean the classic media, the press releases like IGN on GameStar. And then you have friends, just spoken recommendations, basically, or maybe shares on Facebook. And then all the other things are just 1%. So if you think about conference, sorry, but you're going to end somewhere around here. As cruel as it is, that's the fact. But please mind that this is the situation once the game is released. It looks far different before the game is released, once you collect the wish list. So let's go through the Steam landing page, Steam homepage, sorry. How does it look like we have the festival now, so it's a bit different at the top, but then over here, this is the most important part, featured and recommended. That can make like 30% of all your Steam page visits, like globally, even if you're there for one day. Then you have special offers. This is actually the only part moderated by Steam. Then you have some players like you love. This is matched by tags usually. and also somehow the Steam reviews are related here. Then you have community recommendations, that's curators. Then you have discovery queue, that's a huge thing. That might get like 20% of your views. Then a couple of more places like recently updated the developers and publishers that you know. And then apparently this is the section and the only section that will show your game before it is released. And this will actually show your game only like 2 weeks before the release. Please mind that there is a title. Actually, the pictures are not downloaded. So mind that actually everything people know about your game is the title alone. Then there is Steam streaming pages, and this make like 1% of your views if you get to the top and like getting 5,000 viewers. So if your name and banner or just a small screenshot is good enough, then you get curiosity. And once you get players curiosity, then you have his attention and he clicks your banner or the video. And once he gets there, he gets to the Steam landing page, the project landing page. That's the one. And what does he do then? Well, the video is usually played automatically. He checks the banner, he watches the video. Please mind that the audio is turned off by default, so your video must speak for itself without the audio. Then there is a wish list and following buttons. As an admin myself, I don't see the wish list button here, but I see just the follow button. Then you have the descriptions, but actually I think less than 1% people go to descriptions. Well, they do when they buy the game, but not around here, and once they decide to go for wishlist additions. This goes here into the Steam partners to Steam app admin page. When you actually can see that's for 911 operator. This was the release date. There was actually basically nothing before that. But once the game goes public and Steam features is enabled because the wishlist was high and sales went up, all those spikes are the sales. Mind those two terms, impressions. This is how many times our name and banner was displayed during this time, and then how many visits the Steam landing page had. You can actually check the details. How many percentage did the landing page did? It can go as high as 60% from the homepage. From other product pages as well, it can go like 30%. This is not sorted by impressions, but you can go through details around here on your project. If you give the project to the publisher should allow you to see those data, so no problems about it. So again, the potential player decision process is like this. First, you get an impression, banner or something displayed, either by scrolling Steam or scrolling YouTube or scrolling Facebook. And once you get the impression, the banner or thumbnail is displayed, the name is catchy, and or descriptive, banner and drives attention, then you get a click and you get a view, a visit to your Steam landing page. If the trailer is fancy, the description is nice, then you get a wishlist addition, and hopefully a follow as well. This actually the follow helps also, but we will cover this later. And then about 2 years later, ups and downs, hard work, maybe Kickstarter, etc., beta test, and all the other stuff, the game goes live, and the players receive notification that this game is now available. They either receive it by email or just, again, on Steam landing page, homepage, and then they buy and play. Then, if many people buy your game, then the game is good. The Steam features the game, and more people buy your game. And this loops closes. Steam features it as long as it sells. This was actually covered by another presentation from a game industry conference in 2019. Please check it online. It should be still available. So this part is relatively easy. Relatively, you just have to set the new name that hasn't been taken yet. And then you have a much more critical part. That means making the fancy trailer. So this is called a wishlist error by some. Like, why do I have to care about this wishlist? Shouldn't I just care about making a good game? Well, in classic approach, yes, you could. But from a business perspective, the honest wishlist additions are the best indicator that the game might be a success. And this is actually something that we can measure in advance. So that's the best decision that's the best thing to base the decision on if you're thinking about carrying on the project or canceling the project. So going through rough numbers, let's assume 3,000 wishlist additions within a month. If you get this, but this actually fluctuates throughout the whole development process, but let's assume you can get this. And then if your development goes for 2 years, you get like 72,000 wishlist additions. That might convert to 50, like to 100,000 sales first year. These numbers might be higher, might be lower, no guarantees there, but this is actually measurable. And then you have one if. So if sales times price times 50% is like 2 times the budget, then return success. This is how we define the success. Okay, you get a return of investment. I mean, we as the publisher, but as well as the developer, because usually you're gonna get some from those, some revenue share from this. This 50% is the taxes, the Steam revenue, and some returns or some discounts. So there are other indicators like crowdfunding or pre-sales. That's even better because you can actually prove that people throw money at you or they say, just shut up and take my money. And this is actually better if you can do this. That's perfect. However, this usually takes much more than a trailer to get some money. There are bad indicators as well, like other channel members. Some people consider Discord members as a good indicator. I don't think so. They are not really obligated to anything. They don't get such easy notifications. There are pre-registrations on mobile, but this again does not correspond so well to this approach because you can do pre-registrations for 90 days only. So that's usually far too late. Maybe some people count YouTube views and marks, but this actually means that maybe your video is catchy or it's funny, but it doesn't really mean that people are going to buy your game, that they are joining the wish list, that they wish for this game. Media interest, that's also, again, might be misleading, as they might be interested that something is controversial about your game, something interesting that maybe you did another game and now you do this one. This doesn't prove a thing yet. Okay, so what's the process here? So the classic development model will be like this. You start with a pitch, you design the game, pitch the game to some investors, to publishers, or just to your team if you have money. To develop that. Then you go with a prototype, something playable that usually have mock-ups. Then maybe you will start with a teaser. I will define the teaser just in a moment for sure. You go vertical slice, alpha, beta, gold. And then somewhere at this stage, you give the build to someone that makes trailers and say, hey, play this game, find the most fancy moments and make me a trailer. Sudo and go. And please give me the trailer. Well, this is far too late. After the release, people maybe buy it or no. But this actually means that the whole budget, or like 3/4 of the budget, was already spent, and you're not really sure if the game is good. So maybe you ask yourself, is it good at the pitch level? But how do you measure it? You ask at the prototype level. but still there's no clear indicator if you can actually deliver the game as long as you don't have a solid portfolio and proofs that your team can do that. So just about the teaser, this is one of the teaser examples.
What's your emergency?
This was just a teaser. So in the classic approach, this might work if it's a sequel or if it's a game based on a big studio or some IP. But in most cases, this doesn't work. This didn't show anything. This didn't show gameplay, nothing. This just showed that this is a sequel, that the sequel is going to be. So that made it roll as a teaser. But what we want to do here and how we're going to convince people to play a game that doesn't yet exist or is still under development, we show them the gameplay because hopefully they want to play the game, not only watch it because they can do it on YouTube. So the idea here is to move the gameplay trailer as soon as possible, even before the prototype. So then it goes like this. You just have the pitch and you start with the gameplay trailer. We have to add something to the pitch at this stage, but you can basically go with the gameplay trailer development as soon as you get the pitch. Maybe you do some mock-ups instead of a prototype. This is a bit different because prototype is usually playable. Mock-up is just for show, just for display. And then you publish the Steam page and you check if people are interested. If they are interested, then you go carry on with the full development process. If they're not, then you scrap and start again. Maybe in the middle you do some pre-orders or crowdfunding. That's usually at the vertical slice level or later. Once the game is playable, you can show it to some YouTubers or people, and you actually want them to ask to give you some money for development. Okay, so why are we gonna do this? Like, why do trailer-driven game development and start with the gameplay trailer as soon as possible? So, a couple of reasons. First, to check the interest. Is your idea clear? Are people interested? Can you reach them? Is your graphical style fancy enough? Those are all the questions that your trailer basically answers. To check yourself, that's the second reason. Can your team deliver? Because maybe you put your bar too high at this stage and, we don't have a guarantee if we can complete the project or not. So we want to check at this very early stage if you can deliver a successful, complete milestone such as a gameplay trailer. Then to skip like 95% of the content, models, audio, levels, testing, balancing, bug fixes, settings window, loose conditions, load and saves, briefings, most of the UI, tutorials, even core loop and gameplay in general. This actually saves you like 90% of the budget and time. So that's the reason, save money and time and not invest in projects that won't find satisfactory audience numbers. Okay. So how are we gonna do this? So the easiest, classy, and most reliable way is to write down your unique selling points that are the pitch level. Think how to visualize them, which game element, which game moment actually shows that. So write down a scenario, paint a storyboard, animate it, animate each scene in game engine, and then iterate like 10 times over. So please be patient. This is the way of doing the trailer-driven development. So first you write a scenario, and this is basically usually enough to start with a publisher as well that wishes to invest at this stage at game production, and this is basically what this event, the trailer development, the game trailer competition is about. just delivering the trailers, not necessarily the game build. So write a scenario. Then I would recommend to go with just 4 columns. First, define a shot ID because you're gonna use them quite a lot. If you're going to modify it, just write 7A, 7B, 7C, or just skip a shot later on. Don't modify the IDs. Think about how long does it take. Usually a shot takes about a second, maybe less, maybe more. Describe what each scene is going to be about, and then think about text. What text are you going to display? What is your unique selling points, or what describes your game the best way? Another comment is for audio, because surely you're gonna use some sound designer as well to deliver the full trailer, and this is usually another person. So, and there's a comment, but that's skippable. So the pro tips at this stage would be, first of all, no logo on the trailer opening. Sorry, but as long as you're not a Blizzard or Electronic Arts or Creative Assembly, nobody cares about who does it. Well, even about the publisher. So better go with the most interesting parts at the beginning. Shots should be like max 5 seconds, 1 second or shorter are preferred. That's because making like a one-shot video, this is a horrible complication. Like this is hardly manageable and maintainable. Most interesting shot goes in the first 5 seconds. This is because all the previews, like the Facebook videos are played automatically, and you have just those 5 seconds to get attention. This works also with the unskippable ads if we're going to use this video as an ad, and we might. By the way, this is very similar to like, for example, Tinder. People have like 5 seconds decision making if they like it or not. And this is exactly what happens with your video when it goes through the Facebook homepage or YouTube homepage. You'd either just catch an eye with the short few seconds with the banner and the name, or you get lost. Shots must be related to text with unique selling points, so it's better to correspond. For those unique selling points, use huge letters, animated style text, max 4 words, and I mean 4 words, not 5. Like play on real maps, kill natives, connect cities, renovate houses, whatever describes your game, best with an action and an object or noun and verb. And then go with about 5 to 8 unique selling points per video, so not overall with like 20 of those, starting from most important to most impressive. I would say put a separate slide for those texts, just to be sure that people read it, that they spend this half a second or a second to read those 2 words. Because your gameplay might not be descriptive enough. Do not show anything that you won't deliver in the final game. So it's not good to mix it with CGIs or with some concept arts that are not going to be in the final game. This just doesn't count, and this is misleading for your end user, the player. So then, draw a storyboard. If you have the scenario done, let's draw it. Those are actually my pictures. I'm not a painter, and this took me each of them like 1 minute to draw, and this is enough. This is honestly good enough, and I'm not ashamed to show this. I know that some graphic designers might hate me at this moment, but sure, seriously, this is enough. All you need is a person that has some imaginations for the picture, for how do you, for the perspective and stuff. Just write some arrows, where does it move, and okay. Then maybe you would like to animate it, and this is how an animated storyboard looks like. That's for Cryospace. This usually takes like a week or 2 to complete. You have this, and once you have a good impression, you can carry on with the development of each particular scene. So this is how the final gameplay would look like.
Evacuation sequence activated.
Please mind that this game had no gameplay. There was no prototype, nothing. This was straight from the game engine.
Program activated.
So it basically corresponds to, and there is a call to action. It corresponds one-to-one with the prototype, or actually the storyboard. So the second way of doing this is to make or record a placeholder. If you don't feel like drawing, or actually live action would be more sophisticated or easier for you. So this is what we did once.
Where are you, man?
We actually just sit around and read the script out loud.
The ambulance. Sir, I've just received a report of a large fire in the forests to the east. What are the weather conditions like?
It's very dry and windy today. With the prevailing winds, the fire will spread quickly towards the city.
And this transferred to a trailer like this. Let me show you.
Received a report of a large fire in the forests to the east. How fast is it spreading?
Let me show you the direct comparison.
Sir, I've just received a report of a large fire in the forests to the east. How fast is it spreading?
Very quickly, sir. The weather is windy and dry today, so it will reach the city soon.
Notify all fire stations and put out a mutual aid call to fire stations in nearby cities.
Roger that. We have 15 units en route.
Unit D81, move to sector E4. Fire brigade on the way.
Okay, mind how did it actually look like at the beginning and at the end. So well-planned scenario, less work, fewer iterations, better plan ahead. Okay. So how to get the actual footage in between? So first option is to use animator tools, go for 3D Max and such tools, or you go for game engine. And Unity and Unreal fits perfectly here. This is what I would recommend here and now. So the pros for using the animator tools, it's generally simpler, because what you gonna do, what you want to deliver is a trailer. But there are consequences. So Steam's asked for builds recently. That might be the first aspect. We wouldn't recommend to go for the trailer only. But you might not easily convert those effects and animations to game editor as well. And this is a case, usually those tools have different formats or a different approach, like models can be 1 million polygons large, and this won't fit the game. So I would recommend to use Game Engine at this stage. So the pros for this are that you test your graphic skills, test effects, post effects, and all the other stuff that might be necessary. You utilize your programming skills, and sometimes it will be more handy. You use same models, same animations. And the consequences here is that it's not so flexible. Actually, those engines are designed more to develop the game rather than develop a game trailer. Anyway, what you need to do is just make those 1-second shots and not the whole footage, because you still need editing at the end. Technical tips here. First of all, you model only what's going to be in the trailer. You know from the storyboard what's going to be there. So instead of modeling 10, 20 enemies that you're going to have, you just model 3, like the simplest one and the boss at the very early stage. Then you implement only when it helps or it's easier or it's faster than animation. So if you're going to show like 20 enemies at the same time, it's usually easier to implement that rather than animate it. At least it's more maintainable. If you're going to do some changes, you'll do it with code, with programming skills, rather than reanimating each of those characters again. Then split each trailer scene to game engine scene. This also helps quite a lot, at least managing the project. Use engine tools. Unity Recorder, for example, that's a great tool, because otherwise, if you want to go for full HD videos, you would need to make a build, go full screenshot, and then record screen as it was described on previous presentation. But Unity Recorder, that's available since Unity 2019.3, gives you the option to record and target the footage like that you want the 30 frames per second, and please make sure that you're gonna have 30 frames per second, no less. You don't really have to go more anyways. The streaming engines like YouTube and Facebook gonna compress this down. And there are a couple of more reasons, like what's the compression and what's the resolution here. Really, this helps a lot. And then you add text and UI in post effects like Adobe After Effects or Adobe Premiere or any other tool, maybe even Windows Movie Maker if you prefer that. So in most cases, you will want to have clear gameplay footage without UI because UI might be overloaded. So better don't put that in your footage directly. Do it later. Put it in post-production. More tips. So the trailer will be mostly viewed in small windows. And that means people not going to maximize it. They're going to watch it in the very small small window. So it should fit those places, especially in terms of colors and text scale. Therefore, zoom to the elements like single UI icons, small units, details, some small text that you want your viewer to see. Don't think about just highlighting it or no, just use a camera, move it. That might mean that you might need to require Ultra HD recording, or you just need some game engine tricks like actually zooming in your game engine. Minimum and satisfying resolution is full HD. Then proportions should be 16:9 or 21:9. That means ultra wide. This actually helps because you skip the next problem, the playback controls. Movie should be at least 30 frames per second. That's a must. Subtitles are necessary if trailer has spoken text. More than 70% of the users are watching trailer without sound. This is by default on Facebook. This is by default on Steam. So if you go for a landing page like this one, please mind, this is the window, and this is actually already scaled, where the people going to watch it. This is not full screen. Then you have this those playback controls that are going to take like 10% of your entire screen. So if you put ultra wide here, you actually avoid the problems already, but you lose some place. Please mind this. This is disabled by default, and people don't really tend to click those buttons. Okay, so that's the frame. And then it's the same on Facebook. Again, there are playback controls that are even bigger. Again, it's disabled by default. This is where your video is going to be displayed usually. Maybe just take the screenshot and put your gameplay footage in here just to check if it fits or not, if it's readable. Okay, more tips. Mind playback controls. Make sure they do not cover any important part of your video or some UI elements that you want to show or there's something highlighted. Total length from 30 seconds up to 60 seconds plus logos. I mean the game title. Game logo appears after gameplay, not in the middle. This again leads to the call to action. Developer and publisher logo goes only after the game logo and only at the end if necessary, but it's actually better to put call to action. And call to action is just something that you might seen in the Cryospace trailer, just add to wishlist, available on Steam. So just click and follow and either add to wishlist or buy the game. Yeah, that's basically this. And mind that Steam will use only the first trailer from 10 seconds. This is, I think, again, the case on the Steam Festival, that once you hover over a banner, they will display a window with a trailer. Because so many people put logos on the beginning, they decided that, okay, by default, we're going to start the trailer from 10 seconds, not from the beginning. They might change it in the future, but for now it is like this. So please mind that the 10 seconds should be interesting as well. Okay, then to summarize. So there are a couple of success stories for this approach, the trailer-driven development or the pre-production, so-called. One of the most notable are Thief Simulator. Then there is House Flipper. This is huge, like 10 million sales. And it was started with the Greenlight Times and then developed with prototype. There are a few success stories from our own portfolio. So that's Dissident, that's Medic, Pacific Warfare, Cryospace, Riot Operator. Transport Incorporated also went through this way. Radio Commander also went through this way, but I have to be honest, it had a prototype because it uses unique mechanics. So if you're going to have unique mechanics, that's something that's a place where you should consider a prototype first. Then there are a few more examples, either that have very huge wish list, or they're just an interesting trend. Some BAM Simulator that the wish list is super huge at the moment. It's still not released yet. There are builders of Egypt, builders of China, builders of all the places that you can basically imagine. And that's a game that already is a series without even a single game released yet. But apparently people are really tend to click those wishlist additions because this appeals to either their humor or appeal to the genre, the type of the games that they enjoy, and I mean the city builders in this case. There are also fail stories. So, for example, Daycare Manager, that was a pre-production that we are very happy about, like super quality, very good scenario, solid team. But to be honest, we actually failed to get the audience and get the wishlist, and this project had to be scrapped because of that. Even if the team delivered a very nice trailer, apparently there is no audience for a game that's where you play or take care of children at this stage. Apparently, 90% of male players are not attracted to them. Maybe female players are. It's still hard to say. We proved this with this trailer that it's really hard to get there. There are a few more fail stories. Some teams failed to deliver. Some teams fell apart. Some teams failed to deliver the trailer that was visually attractive enough. Or again, there was no audience. But this is hard to measure if it's a reason because there is no audience or just the trailer was not satisfactory. It wasn't attractive enough. Okay, so when the trailer-driven development is a good idea. So first of all, when its gameplay is obvious and it's tested, if it's another slasher, if it's another city builder, then it might be a very good idea to start with a trailer-driven development. Or if you already had a prototype made at a game jam or stuff, it might be a good idea. If your team can deliver nice visuals and you're sure about this, then again, trailer-driven development is a good idea. Or maybe you just make game about blocks, and again, it's visually attractive enough to prove the gameplay with just the trailer. So when it is not a good idea, well, that's when game needs unique core mechanics. Well, then start with a prototype. Then do a trailer. Then when it's technically possible, or you have some doubts about this, if you're like not sure if you can achieve the goals, like millions of units on screen or water mechanics that flow this and there, this is still an issue. Well, this is performance issue. So you might do it, you might render the trailer, but it won't be possible to make this game still, even with all the ray tracing skills and stuff. So better not. And again, when there is not so much good idea, well, if game already has a large potential audience, like it's a sequel or IP adaptation, then you basically, that would be a waste of time to prove the concept. Well, the first version of the game already proved that that there is an interest. If the first version of the game was failure, or no, well, there were no sales, satisfactory sales, then you just shouldn't do a sequel. Or you make an IT adaptation of a large IP, like a movie or a book. They usually have the communities already. They already prove that it's a good concept, it's a good story, it's a good setting. So trade-driven development there might not be necessary, useful. It's better go with a teaser. Or if you have enough money or will to make the game anyway, well, why go for trailer-driven development? Just develop the gameplay itself and then record it. If you have doubts, then consider it. Okay, and that would be enough. Thank you for watching. If you have some questions, please let me know. If not, we will skip, but there is a question. Isn't creating store page with mockup trailer against Steam rules? They require you to create store pages only for games intended to be finished and shipped. Well, no, not shipped. Definitely not shipped. Well, you're not supposed to release a game that is not shipped. But it's okay to start the game at a very early stage. What they don't like is when you have a trailer only. But if you say the mock-up is a game build, then it works, and it's not directly against the rules. So the Steam verifies it, and actually they still allow it to publish the pre-productions and just to check the wishlist additions. So as long as you don't overextendly use it and try to promote games that won't ever happen, then it's okay. Okay, I don't see any more questions here. Oh, there is one. If you show incomplete game and then your game receives full attention, you basically need to start from scratch the whole dev process. After all, it costs more. Well, no. Basically, if you made the trailer and you just proved the development process, that the pitch was not well, there is no audience. You actually save 90% of the budget rather than lose 10%. Otherwise, you would lose 100%, 10 times more money than you did for the pre-production. So this actually saves your money. If you start from scratch, maybe that's because either the visual side was not attractive enough, maybe because the scenario was not good enough. But this needs to be analyzed deeply if that's the case. Sometimes it's better just to ask 20 people, 100 people, some consultants. This is why we make this event as well, just to have some specialists that will tell you what might be wrong about this game idea. Okay, let me check if there are more questions. And I think no. Then okay. Thank you for watching. That's all for today. See you around and good game development. Cheers. Bye.